Before I get into the tutorial portions of the video, I'm going to do a quick Q&A session and go over some things that I wanted to talk about. First and foremost, people are like, bro, I know you're putting out these videos for tutorials soon, where are they? Fortunately, I've been pretty busy in real life, and I've been having to deal with some things and handle some in real life related issues. At the same time, I've also been helping quite a number of friends in Arena, teaching them some of the Arena basics and more complicated aspects of Arena, you know, all that good stuff. So I've been pretty wrapped up doing that and teaching multiple people at the same time, and I just haven't gotten around to editing all the videos and putting them on YouTube. So I apologize for that. The next question is, hey Apocalyptic, I looked you up and you don't really have high rating nor high rated achievements. What's the deal? How do I know that your advice is legit? That is a really good question, and the answer is really simple. I have two accounts. On a separate account is where I've always had all my high rated characters, and it was my original account. It's where I have my 4 GMs, and it's where I have all my big characters that people know very, very well. Now, I've kept them separated on purpose from this account, and I've actually retired the other account, probably permanently. I don't get on it anymore, but I can tell you this. I've been at a 2.2k or higher rating every season since Arena started. I've gotten every class up to 2.2k or higher except for 2 of them. That's Warlock and Death Knight. The only reason that I haven't gotten those ones at that level yet is because I've simply never played one of those classes during any Arena season. At the same time, I don't go really try hard on my Warlock to try and get a high rating right now, and that's simply because I'm taking the time to teach people and produce videos. I would much rather teach people than go into a team where I could get a super high rating, simply because I like to help people and I prefer that. So because I would much prefer to teach people, I'm sacrificing that for rating. And that to me is worth it. I've been 2.2 or higher every season, so I've done it multiple times. And to me, I really don't need to get high in rating. I mean, I've done it before, and I know I can do it now, so I don't feel the need to. I would much rather teach, like I said. Last Q&A is, bro, I've noticed that your mic sounds awful, and I'm sorry. I know my mic sounds bad. Audio quality has been pretty bad, and the reason for that being is that I've actually had to move some stuff around in my house. I'm doing a lot of rearranging, and getting my other mic set up where my computer is at right now is a little bit of an issue for me. So unfortunately, for the next 1 to 2 videos max, you'll have lower quality on audio than you normally would in future videos. But that will change very quickly, I promise. Let's get on to the tutorial. How does Blizzard of programming affect your overall dot damage, and how can we abuse the system? Blizzard programming has set it up in a very simple manner to where our dot damage is originally based off of what stats we have when we applied those dots. So if I go ahead and I apply Unstable Affliction, Agony, and Corruption, I can show you that despite my Jade Spirit proc popping up on my screen, my dot damage has stayed consistently the same. This is due to the fact that dots, once again, remember the stats that you had when you first applied the dots. Now, if I get something like a Jade Spirit proc, like I did right there, I can go ahead and reapply my dots, and with a new Jade Spirit active and increasing my stats, it will overall increase my dot damage. Now, despite Jade Spirit falling off like you just saw, I can refresh my dots and it will still act as though Jade Spirit's active. This is because I applied the dots when Jade Spirit was active. I get another Jade Spirit proc, and I refresh my Agony. I go ahead and I refresh my dots via Fell Flame, and I make sure that during this entire time, I have the most possible dot damage. So you can see by that it's very easy for us to apply our dots when we have the highest possible stats. How do we go ahead and maximize that in sync with our PvP trinkets, or PvP trinkets that are proccable? Quite simple. When we get a Jade Spirit proc, we go ahead and we pop our trinket. This means that Jade Spirit will act in sync with our PvP trinket to increase our stats to the highest possible level that we can based on our gear, therefore giving us the highest amount of dot damage. So you can see I get a Jade Spirit proc, I go ahead and I pop my trinket, I refresh my dots. With my new dots refreshed, off of a fresh cast, I'm sorry, not refresh, but freshly cast, are going to have the highest possible stats, increasing my dot damage even further. This means that when I refresh them via Fellflame, that they will still remember my old stats and act as though my Trinket and Jade Spirit is still active. In previous expansions, Agony has worked in such a way that was quite simple. Unfortunately, it's not so much that way in MOP. If you're looking to maximize damage, it's going to take a little bit of work. First and foremost, when we cast Agony, we're going to notice that at the beginning of its duration, it's going to do considerably less amount of damage in comparison to the end of its duration. Now, in previous expansions, when you would recast Agony, because it's about to fall off and you needed to renew your dot timers, it would restart the cycle of doing very little damage at the beginning and doing a lot of damage at the end. In MOP, it doesn't work this way. What happens is it will gain up to 10 power. If you look at the debuff on a unit frame, on an enemy unit frame, in which you have applied Agony, you'll notice that there's a number correlating to Agony. It's on the little picture. And what happens is it will go from 1 power to 10 power. When it's at 10 power, you can recast Agony at any time, and it will refresh the dot duration, but will not stop it from doing 10 power damage. So you can actually maximize the damage from Agony very easily that way. A lot of Warlocks are making the mistake of not looking into that and making it fall off or allowing it to get close to falling off, and then reapplying it later when it's not at 10 stacks. This means you lose out on a considerable portion of your damage, as Agony does not do a lot of damage at the beginning. At the end, it however becomes a pretty decently strong dot. So if I went ahead and let's say I dot this target dummy and this is a PvP target, it does 1,605 damage at the beginning, very first tick. At 10 stacks, on the target dummy to the right, I'm getting about 8,025. So roughly a 7k damage increase. So it's huge that you keep that updated at 10 power at all times. Now, as I mentioned before, you're wanting to apply all your dots with the highest possible stats. Unfortunately, when you recast Agony, it does not count as a refresh as UA or Corruption gets from Fellflame. Instead, it will count as a brand new cast. So you want to do it at a time like when you get a Jade Spirit proc. So if you apply it with Trinket and Jade Spirit at once, it will only count with your Trinket once during its first initial life. After that, when you have to go refresh it, it's not going to remember those stats, and it will act as though you have new stats. So the best time to renew your Agony is any time that you get a Jade Spirit proc. Now, it's not better to let it fall off, wait for a Jade Spirit proc, and then reapply it, because it's going to be doing so little damage. Instead, it's best to refresh it if you have to when you don't have a Jade Spirit proc, and then let's say you get one, and you had already applied it with Jade Spirit at the original start and your Trinket and Jade Spirit fall off. You need to refresh it. You don't have a Jade Spirit proc at the time, so you refresh it since it's at 10 power. The best way to do it is once you get a Jade Spirit proc after that, to go ahead and reapply the dot immediately once you get the Jade Spirit proc, so that way it acts as though it has the stats from Jade Spirit and is at 10 power. I know that was a little confusing the way I said it, and I apologize, but I hope this makes sense.